Morning, everybody, and welcome to our Inventor Fabrication Drawings webinar. My name is Cameron McKenzie. I'm an applications engineer here at Man & Machine. And today we're going to be looking through how we can create drawings inside of Inventor. So we've obviously gone over in previous webinars, previous videos, how we can do our modeling inside of Inventor. We can then take those models, those parts, and begin to put those into assemblies. We can then also start to use those assemblies in intelligent ways, and start to use some of the add-ins and begin to start to use some of the content center parts to make a little bit more detailed assemblies inside of Inventor. Today we're going to then look obviously at the next phase inside of the development and the publication essentially of our parts. It's all good and well being able to have these parts and assemblies inside of Inventor. We need to then be able to take these out and be able to publish them out to our manufacturers, to our fabricators, and be able to make sense of the data that we have inside of Inventor. So without further ado, I'm just going to go straight inside of Inventor now. So if I just open it up over here, you can see straight from the home screen, we've got the ability to launch a new drawing inside of the home screen here. This will then pick up from the templates that we've got and essentially be able to create a new clean drawing inside of Inventor in which we can place views down. We could also select new up in the top left, and this will take us to all of the templates that we've got available to us. So if I new over here, it'll take me into a folder structure where I can come in and grab based on different folders inside. So we've got English, we've got metric, we've got some mold design templates, we've got some old templates and so forth that we can come in and pick from. Inside of those, we've got obviously our parts, but we've got our drawings down here in a drawings section. So in here in the English folder, we've got ANSI, both the DWG and IDW, and inside of metric, again, we've got a few more options here, but the same DWGs and IDWs. From here, essentially, I guess it's worth pointing out the difference between the two. So we've got IDWs, which are Inventor-based drawings, and we've got DWGs, which are the same file format that AutoCAD can read. So we can create drawings inside of Inventor that would then be able to be readable, or that we could then essentially open and tweak inside of AutoCAD. Generally speaking, with working inside of Inventor, you'd want to be using an IDW, especially if you all want to keep them separate. You don't want to be opening up a DWG that then automatically opens up inside of AutoCAD. However, if you did want to have the two communicate or be able to edit in both, you could essentially create it as a DWG. So that's the main difference between the two. Generally speaking, though, you can just open an IDW. We do have a blog about the differences between the two. So if you ever wanted to know a bit more about the differences between the two, head over to our website, manandmachine.co.uk. We've got a little blog section there. You can search for the blogs. Otherwise, if you just do a search on your search engine, you should be able to find it from within there as well. Anyway, I'll just open up a brand new drawing. So I'm just going to go straight for ISO IDW over here, and then just select create. I'm going to be able to create it from inside here. Inside of this, you can see we open up a drawing workspace, very similar to in structure, essentially to the other environments that we've been in our part environment, in our assembly environment. We've got our ribbon up at the top. We've got our few most commonly used options at the top there. We've also got a browser to the left-hand side here, which will then start to populate as we start to add more and more detail into the drawing itself. We also have a border that makes up the drawing and a title block down in the bottom right. And that title block can be moved about if you wanted it to, if you wanted it up in the top right, top left, so forth. We've got the ability to edit where that is. We can do that inside of the document settings. I believe it should be in here. Drawing sheet. Anyway, I found that later if we get some time for that. But you've got the ability to put that in any of the corners as and where you'd like to, essentially. It's going to bug me now, but I'll get back to that a little bit later. That's not what we're here for. So yeah, essentially we've got our drawing, and from here we can start to, as you can see in the first tab, place views. So we can come in and place views of parts, place views of assemblies, and if we had presentation files, we could also place those inside here. So if I select a base view, we need to start with a base view to be able to create our drawing. We then get given the drawing view dialog box where we can come in and select a part that we want to create a view of. It'll automatically pick up the files that you have open. So you can see these 3 files that I have available to me here are the same files that I have open available in other tabs as well. So you can pick from there, or you can just go to your folder structure, open an existing file, find a file that you'd want. Let's see if we can find one in here. Let's get this bill of materials one here and see what we've got available to us. If I just open up just this lower arm part over here, hit open, it'll then want me to place down the view, and I can come in with a single left click, grab and drag this around, place it wherever I wanted to. If this wasn't the view that I wanted of the item, I could use my view cube up in the top right and choose a different view. So maybe I wanted the right face of the part. Maybe I wanted to view this from the top, or again, back to the front and rotate that around again. So we've got the ability to come in and rotate that model around. We could pick any existing view as well if we wanted to. So if we had the home view, otherwise, we could also come in and choose a custom view if we wanted to. If we had any named views inside of our part, we could come in and call upon those as well at any point. Otherwise, down here, if we on the view cube, we've got a little triangle drop down, which generally indicates that we've got more options. We've got the ability to come in and choose a custom view orientation. If I zoom out of that, it then takes me into the part itself. I can choose my custom view. Maybe we wanted to align to a particular face. Maybe we only wanted to show a certain section of the part. We can then finish our custom view, and whatever alignment we've chosen for that, it'll then place that in for us. So really handy tool to have to be able to place down our base view. And it is just that, it's base view. So essentially what that means is we can actually start to create projected views essentially from that as well. So if I move my cursor over to the right-hand side, you can see it's giving me a little bit of a preview of a block over there. As soon as I click down to place that block, it'll place the projected view on that side of my part. And that's again, just off to the right-hand side. If I went to the top, it would then give me the correlating view. So that's the other side of my part. So it was the top first and then the side, just because of the orientation of the model. But yeah, I can come in and place projected views of that same base view. And this is all within one tool, one click. So I've just gone and clicked place base view in the place views tab, click down my base view, and then clicking on different sides of my part essentially to be able to place those down. What I can also do, you can see those are going directly out at each side of my view. If I go out at about a 45-degree angle, or just between the two projected side views, I can actually place down a isometric view as well. So by going off to the side, it places the direct projected views. If I go off to the top right, it'll then give me a isometric view of the item. If that's not the one I want, I can hit the little X over here to remove that. If I come down to the bottom right, you can see it's going to give me the projected view from that angle. And this one's a bit more like what I want to be able to use. So I'm going to grab this one. And for some reason, it's fighting with me a little bit. Not sure why it's doing that. It's not letting me go out of the sector, but that's fine. As soon as I hit OK on there, I'd be able to move that isometric view anywhere else, and it will keep its same alignment to the other, to the view itself. It'll keep the view alignment correct. The other ones are linked directly to the base model, or to the base view rather, and that's obviously because you want your projected views to line up with the original view itself. Yeah, the other thing we can do as well is we can scale this view if we wanted to. So using the little green arrows on the side here, we can come in and actually scale the view. And because we're scaling the base view, all of the child views will then scale as well, because these are going to be continuously linked. So just by selecting it in screen, you can come in and change those views. We can come in and change the scale as well inside of this dialog box. So we've got the scale section over here where we can choose from various scales, predefined scales, or as you've seen over there, we can use the little green arrow to adjust it manually and choose a custom scale. If we wanted to label our view, we could come in and label it. At the moment, it's done as view 1. I could just call this one base view and ensure that I toggle on the label visibility. If that's toggled off, it won't show the label. If it's toggled on, it'll show the label. So we've got the ability to come in there. And if we want to edit the text of the label or view it, we've got the ability to edit inside there as well. So as soon as I hit OK on there, you can see it will now place those down. It's given me the name base view as well as the scale in brackets. So it's giving me a good indication of what this view itself is. I can come in and move that text if I wanted to the bottom. I can move it to the side. I can move this around wherever I want to, really, just to be able to customize that a bit more. If I wanted to, I could still come in and tweak the positioning of this view. Perhaps I've placed it down and want to move it after creation. We've got the ability to come in and still move those about. And you can see how the projected views move along with the base view. So as I move this base view, if I move it up or down, the views on the side move up and down with it. So they're always linked together. If I move it from side to side, the top and bottom view, what would be the top and bottom view, move around with it as well, as you can see. And what I was showing earlier is we've got the ability to move the isometric view as well. So we've got the ability to move that around. We can move that anywhere we want to. It's no longer linked necessarily to the original model. We can come in and move it to any position. So if you wanted to have it in the top right, bottom left, anywhere that you wanted, and still keep the same view alignment, you've got the ability to do so. If you wanted to as well, we can double click on any one of the views. So if I do that again quickly, you can see if I hover over it, it gives me the little red box. If I just double click inside of that red box, I've got the ability to come in and edit that view as well. So this brings up that same dialog box that we had when we were placing items down, and allows us to come in and actually edit this model, or edit the view rather. From here, we can come in and change a visual style if we wanted to. So if we only wanted to show, or if we wanted to show any hidden lines, we've got the ability to turn hidden line on. So if that's any geometry behind the part that we wanted to highlight or wanted to show come through, it'll turn on all of the hidden lines and we'll be able to see those inside them. And we can toggle whether the model is shaded or not. Generally speaking, you probably want your isometric view to be without hidden line and shaded. And sometimes your base views, the base and projected views, possibly to have the non-shaded view with hidden lines. Again, just up to you. It's completely customizable inside here. And again, we've got a label that we can add here. So I can just call this one the ISO view and turn on the label. I touched on this earlier, but we've got the ability to also edit the label. So if I had to select edit over here, you can see it gives us the text, the format of the text of our item. So you can see it's got a tag here called view, and that'll be whatever label we've given it. And then we've got a scale in here. We can come in and add any other custom properties as well. So we can come in and edit this as if it's just a text field. So we've got extra editability to these fields as well, to these labels if we wanted to. For the now, I'm just going to hit OK on there and place that down. And I can just hit OK again just to confirm my edit of that. Sorry, what I did want to show you is we've got the ability to scale this item, this projected view, independently of its parents or its parent view, because it isn't linked back to the original model. You saw earlier when I edited the base view, all of the other corresponding views would scale relative to the base. So we'll just hit OK on there quickly. You can see I've now placed that one down. I can again just move that label down to the bottom, and we've got the ability to view that from there. So that's essentially starting off with a clean drawing sheet and adding views to that. What you can also do is inside of our model browser here on the left-hand side, as I said earlier, it starts to populate as you start to populate your drawing sheet with items. So you can see we've got drawing sheet here, drawing sheet 1. We've got a default border, which is the border that surrounds it. We've got our title block down in the bottom right. It's the ISO title block. And we've got all of the base views, or all of the views essentially inside there. We've got the ability, I just want to see if I have these borders set up. I've only got one border and one title block. We've got the ability to come in and add or define new borders as well. So if you didn't want the default border, we've got the ability to customize those and turn those on off as we needed to. So up at the top here in our drawing resources section, we've got the ability to start to make tweaks and add some detailing essentially to the drawing itself. So this is for customizing your drawing sheet. If you had certain drawing standards in your office and you wanted to enforce those, you could save those into a template essentially and use those inside of Inventor. So we've got the ability by right-clicking on borders to create a new border or to define new border zone. We've got the ability also to create a new title block or to copy the existing title block and make tweaks to it, adding more fields, adding fewer fields, adding more blocks. We've got the ability to come in and make tweaks to those. We'll do a video on that at some point in the future as well. But what we've also got the ability to do is come in and add a new drawing sheet. So if we wanted to, we could create a new drawing sheet in the list over here. So each drawing file can have multiple drawing sheets. We can either do that inside of the drawing sheet itself, or if we wanted to, we've got the ability to pick new sheet up at the top over here. So we've got the ability, just by selecting new sheet, it will then pretty much bring in the default settings that we had for the previous one and bring that into this one. And if we ever wanted to, we could come in and grab and drop the views from a previous drawing sheet onto a new one. So I can come in, take that one, drag it onto there, and that's the ISO view. You can see now I've created a new drawing sheet with just that ISO view on it. I can come in and add any other detailings to that. I can then always switch back to drawing sheet 1 and carry on working on the data from there. So 2 separate sheets. You could have as many sheets really as you wanted to, all detailing those, and then you could eventually just print those off all at once. Some of the other features we've got, I'll just quickly go on to one of the other files that we've got available here, one of the ones that I have open. So with another single part, I've just created this quick bracket using the sheet metal file format, just to show you how the different file formats work and the ability we have to be able to create drawings from each of those. So if you are in a part, obviously I showed you how to create from a drawing to place the views in. We've also got the ability to create drawings straight from parts themselves. So if we're in a part file, whether it be a part or an assembly, I'll show you the assembly in a second. We can then just right click on the top level part or assembly and then ask it to create a new drawing view. As soon as we select that, it'll ask us which template we want to use. Again, I'm just going to use the ISO IDW, hit create, and we'll then essentially place that view straight in for us. We can choose the positioning of this. We can choose the scaling of this. And once we're happy with that, we can just plop that straight down. Maybe in this one, I wanted to have it as a hidden line removed and without any shading. As you can see, currently the preview is showing it with shading. If I say I don't want it to be shaded and hit OK, it'll then unshade the item. So we've essentially just got a wireframe basically around it. We've also got a few extra tools that are available to us. So we've had a look at the projection. So we can project views from our base model. We can create a section view of our item. So by selecting the section view, it wants to know which view we want to section. And I can just draw a section line right down from there. Right click continue, and it'll place that section view off to the side for me. So very quickly, we've gone from our part that we've modeled, just by selecting the section tool created a line along which we want to create a section on, and then it creates a projected view with that section intact. And you can see here, we're slicing right through that hole, and it's showing us that we've sliced right through the hole as well. We could, if we wanted to, show this, change this view and have it shaded, hit OK, and it'll then shade that view for me. It's a bit thin, so it's not as easy to see, but you can see that whole layer a bit better now with the shading active. So whether you wanted a independent section view to be shaded or not, you've got the ability to make use of that. We can also add some detailed views. So you can see we've got detail over here. We can choose which view again we want to create the detail of. Choose the shape of the detail. In this case, I would just want a circular one. And I won't go for a cutout edges or a jagged one. I'll just select a smooth one. And I'll just select the center point of the detail. Choose the radius of the detail. And essentially, it will then place that onto a new view for me, which I can place down, much like I've done with the projected views. I can drop it down there, and you can see a nice detail of that. It's giving me the label with the scale attached to it. I could come in if I wanted to and change the scale. Maybe I want this a little larger. Go for a 5:1 scale. So we can come in and add detailing to that as well. One of the other really nice tools that we've got that I can show you on this file is we've got the ability to start picking up the data that's inside of the file itself. So we can start to come in and add annotations. Obviously, that's a very handy tool to have when using drawings. You want to be able to convey the size of your item. So we can come in and use our dimension tool. And much like the measure tool inside of the parts, we just need to select the edges, or we could select a line, and we can then place down our dimensions essentially from there. So it's just a single left click on either an edge, either a single edge or multiple edges. And you can then measure either the edge itself by selecting a single edge, or you can measure the distance between two items by selecting the two items for us. We've got the ability to create a baseline dimension, which will essentially create measurements from one base point. So if I select this side over here as my base point and select that edge, that one, and that one. And once I'm happy with it, I can right click continue. It'll then create dimensions from one base point to each of those selected items, whether those items be edges, whether they be whole centers. You've got the ability to come in and use a baseline dimension for that. We've got chain, which is very similar, except it creates a chain from the first creates a chain between each selection. So if I select this item, or this edge, that one, maybe now I'll choose the whole as well, and then that edge, right click continue. Depending on the direction that I place this in, it'll then choose, or it'll give me the distances between those essentially. But if I come right down to the bottom, place that in and create it, you can see it's now dimensioned between each of those points that I've chosen. So very similar, you select from one point and go through to the other. Baseline will measure it from the base point to each measurement, whereas chain will then measure between each successive point essentially. I'll show you some of the other annotation options that we've got in one of the other files, but one that's really handy for this particular file is we've also got the ability to create whole tables. So that'll look at the data that's again inside of the part and begin to populate a whole table, because Inventor knows the holes that have been created because they've been created as features, and therefore it's got information on those, a bit of metadata basically on each of those files. Each of those features that it can then draw into a table. And to be able to place that, we've got three options really. We've got whole selection, which we can come in and choose individual holes that we want to select. If I choose that one, I can come in and choose that hole. Sorry, I need to choose the view first and place an ordnance point down. So let me just pick that bottom left corner there. I can come in and choose that hole, and let's choose that one. Once I'm happy with my selection, I can right-click, select Create, and it'll then create a whole table based on those 3 holes that I've chosen. It'll also then label those holes in the drawing itself automatically for me, A1, B1, A2, and then give me their ordnance point. So basically the measurements or distances from that ordnance point itself, as well as a description of the holes. So you can see it's got the diameter and the depth of each of those. It's also then got the size of the one hole because that's an M5. And yeah, being able to add that information into a whole table. If we choose any of the other ones, we've got hole view, which will take all of the holes inside of the view and create a table for them. Again, adding a tag to each of those. There's a bit of an overlap on those ones, so you wouldn't really be using them on top of each other, generally speaking. But you got the ability to pick all of the holes in a view. And the other one, we've got hole features, so we can choose holes that are similar or the same type of hole. So I can come in and choose this hole over here or this view. Then that hole. Let's see, it's not going to do it. Is it doing it? Yeah, it is. Cool. So I've just selected the one hole. I'm going to right-click Create, and it's going to create a table for me of all of the holes that it defines grouped together. So they're the same feature, the same type of hole, and it's created a table essentially of all the similar holes, all the ones that are the same feature, rather than creating for all of the different holes that are available to you. So you've got various ways of being able to create tables, essentially, especially hole tables inside of the drawing views themselves. Just going to have a quick look. I think I'm starting to run out a bit of time, so I'm just going to jump ahead to this one over here quickly. So this is just another assembly that we've got available to us. I'm just going to create a drawing view of this one. So if I right click again on here, create a drawing view, select the ISO IDW, I can then come in and place this view down for me. So simple. I've just got an isometric view of my assembly that I've got selected over here. I'm not going to add any other views to it. I'm going to go straight over to the Annotate tab. What we can also do inside of the Annotate tab is we can actually start to bring out a parts list. So Inventor obviously knows inside of assemblies which parts are inside of them, what their names are, any extra features, any properties of each of those parts Inventor is obviously aware of as well. So in the background, all that information just sits there, and we've got the ability to create a parts list essentially from this item and be able to place that directly in. So instead of having to go and update that yourself, we've got the ability to take hold of the information that's inside of Inventor, and Inventor will then populate that for you. So instead of manually going in and writing down every single part, we've got the ability to come in and pick that in here. And this will be making use of the bill of materials inside of the assemblies as well. So if you've got any structure to that, if you've done any configuration of your bill of materials inside of your assemblies, we've got the ability to make use of those inside here. So you can see we've got our bill of material view, either structured parts only or any of the legacy ones as well. We've got the ability to choose only the first level or all levels, and a few other options that we want to use to configure it a bit further. Once we're happy with that, we can just hit OK. Helps if the bill of materials is enabled. Let me just make sure that that places. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. And you can see straight from just selecting the view, a little bit of configuration if you need it. Otherwise, you can just hit OK and place the view down, place the list down. We've got the ability to go from an assembly to a parts list straight on the drawing sheet. We can always come in and tweak this as well by double clicking on it. We've got the ability to come in and change any of the details here if we wanted to override any of them. If we wanted to add any columns, we've got the ability to use our column chooser, and any of the properties that we may want from this assembly, we've got the ability to bring that in based on each part. So if we wanted to bring in the material of each part, we've got the ability to add the material in. Maybe we wanted to also, let's see, find the mass of each part inside there. And maybe, I don't think there's anything set up for estimated cost, but if there is anything set up for each part of an estimated cost, we've got the ability to drop that straight into our parts list over here as well. If I hit OK on them, it'll add all that information in. Obviously, that hasn't been set up inside of the part, so we don't have an estimated cost. But if we wanted to, we could always add that in as well. Let's go £20 for that one. And you can see we've got the materials available to us, the size of them, and an estimated cost. And you can come in and add all of those in as you wanted to. As soon as I hit OK on there, or apply and OK, let's add that again to our parts list over here. We could at any point make any of these columns larger or smaller, and we could move them up and down based on where we wanted them inside there. All good and well, obviously having this parts list, maybe we don't know exactly which parts are where inside of the assembly. So what we've also got the ability to do inside here is to create balloon views or add our balloons onto the assemblies. So if we hit this drop down over here, we've got an auto balloon function. So we could either select an individual item. So I come in, select that item, place it down, and it'll there show me that's part number 4, which then correlates to this handle body in my parts list. Or I could use auto balloon, which will then allow me to select the entire view. I could come in and add and remove components if I wanted to. I'm just going to select all of the components. And then I can choose my placement, whether I want it to be around the item, whether I want them all to be horizontal, or whether I want them all to be vertically aligned. I've got the ability to come in and choose those. I can choose some offsetting of each of the individual balloons as well. But yeah, if I hit around, select my placement, you can see it gives me a bit of a preview as to how that'll be. If I go horizontal, you can see it's going to give me a horizontal. If I go vertical, they'll all be aligned vertically. I quite like the around, and you can see it chooses the spacing of the radius away from the part or assembly itself. As soon as I click that down, it'll then place each of those down independently. I can hit apply, and it'll apply the numbers automatically. So Inventor has already numbered the parts, and all it's doing is picking up those numbers and placing them into a balloon. I say all it's doing, but that's a very handy function to have inside instead of having to go in and mark those manually. We've got the ability to come in and tweak the positioning of each of these as well after we've created them, just so that they're maybe a bit neater. 5 can go a little higher up there. 2 can probably go a little higher up there as well. And yeah, we've got the ability to come in and tweak those as well. So anything. Yeah, so that's essentially placing those balloons down. I just want to see if there's anything else that I need to have a look at quickly. We've also got the ability to add text in. So as you've seen, we've got the ability to add labels in. We can also just add raw text in as well. If I had to select text over here and place it down, I've got the ability to add text here. And as I was showing earlier, we've got various properties that we can essentially drop in as well. So if we wanted to have a look, we've got the ability to sort out through properties of this sheet on its own. We've got for the drawing as a whole, or from the model itself. So the reference model, we can come in and bring in properties of that. So if I come in here and have a look at the physical properties of the model, we can choose exactly which model we're using. In this case, there's only one, and we can come in and choose the area, density, mass, or volume of it. So if we wanted the mass of the whole item, the whole assembly, we've got the ability to drop that value in. And just by hitting add over there, you can see it gives me the mass property available there, or the field available to me. I can come in here and I can say total. Wait. I want this to be centered, and hit OK on there. You can see I've got that text here, and it's giving me the total weight of the item. If I hit escape quickly, so I'm no longer using that tool, I could always come and move that around and place this down somewhere else. So we've got the ability to come in and add those text values in as well, and those properties essentially, and pick up on some of the I properties essentially of our part. So Inventor is always aware of those, and we can always come in and use those as well. We've also got the ability to come in and add some text leaders. So similar to the text, except it has a leader as well, pointing to a specific item. Very much the same process as placing down the balloon, except it's text instead of a balloon block. We've got the ability to come in and add symbols to surfaces or to individual sections of our drawings as well. Unfortunately, we don't really have time for that. I've already gone over a bit with that today. But yeah, we've got a lot of details we can start to add to our drawings. And then all that's really required from here, if this is your final finished product, we obviously want to be able to print this off or send this out. We've got the ability to go into our options. So we can go into File. We can either export this out as a PDF or as an image. We could even export this out to DWG, and that's the other option we have to be able to open this up inside of AutoCAD. Otherwise, we could export a DWF. From here, we could also just do a save as, and be able to run it through there. Otherwise, we've also got the ability just to print this directly from inside of Inventor. So if this was something you wanted to print off, we've got the ability to come into our print options over here and actually just print this item off. So if I just use a PDF quickly, hit OK on that. Sure, I'll just save it there. And then that should open up a drawing inside here. I haven't got this configured, so it's not going to be exactly how it should appear inside there. But yeah, you can see it very quickly, be able to print that off into a PDF as well. Awesome. So yeah, I hope that's been beneficial for you today. Thank you again for joining today. If you are on YouTube, if you are watching this on YouTube, we do these sessions live as well. So if you ever wanted to watch a live session, feel free to join us. We'll post about these on our social media accounts, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. There's another one, probably Facebook as well. And yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for your time and for joining us today. Have a great week further. Cheers.